because this is a fourth estate. This is an industry that allows the citizen to see what is happening. Of course, this has since expanded from legacy media. We have digital media that has really made the space healthy, because the kind of information that is shared now, the kind of instant, opportunity to interact with the decisions that are made on your behalf and what is happening across the country really allows you to exercise your democratic rights, isn't it? Because you know what is happening, you know what to question. But we've seen in the recent past, particularly the Communications Authority during the June 25th anniversary, just a few weeks ago, shutting down live broadcasts across all platforms, which was a direct infringement of media freedoms. And it is really appalling that in such a day and time that we have come this far, that such an order can come. And I remember that the courts immediately turned around, the High Court making a ruling that lifting this ban that was placed by the Communications Authority, but that this can happen and that can have access even to go and shut down the transmissions, still shows that, there's some red flags.
Right. I mean, I would give a certain score for that. On the question of media freedom, I would say this, that on all the protests and elections, there's always been something that is sacrosanct, that journalists who cover these events have not been targeted by the police and have not been injured. In the last year, on each and of those days there's been protests, there's been an injury of a journalist, there's been a direct attack at the media. On that score, we have regressed.
I'm icked. Yeah. I'm icked to talk about the medical ones as well.
I was actually going to come in and say, and you can join in on that. We see those kind of things where the status quo is trying to push back on the little gains. Remember, you did not just receive those gains, you fought and earned those gains, and there's a system that you're pushing against. So it's trying to push back. For me, I look at it from the point of the fact that there's a law and there's a judiciary that can come and reverse that order and you're back on air immediately. That's true. That is a movement of the needle to the positive. There's always going to be this pushback. It's how do you safeguard against those pushbacks?
So a democracy does not mean that we're just sitting and enjoying our rights and our freedoms.
No, it doesn't.
All right. That's a fair point.
Everything in this country gives me, when I wake up in the morning at 7 a.m., I'm like, let me first of all soak in the realities of what I live in before I go to my assumptions of what I would wish to be. And a lot of pushback on dissent. And when James was mentioning journalists, I was at the medical tent and I remember a whole lorry trying to fit into one small portion just to harm medical officers. And then for me, it becomes, again, even when the Constitution is so clear about who is supposed to be protected and the freedoms of expression that are actually very much aligned in the Constitution, there are faculties and constituents within the government that really do not seem to respect the responsibilities that they have to the freedoms of the people. So they are there, yes, but then who implements those subjective freedoms and where do we actually see them and that they are ascertained? It's difficult in Kenya.
I want to bring it to the other side, that now we have institutions that are supposed to safeguard this, okay? So we have got the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. We've got several constitutional commissions in place to deal with human rights, to make sure that the government is working. There's an ombudsman to make sure that we do not fight each other. There is, cohesion commission. We've got a public service commission, a parliamentary service commission, a judicial service commission, and so on and so forth. And we've got the two independent offices in the Constitution, the Controller of Budget and the Auditor General. So you see, these are oversight checks and balances that are there in place. Again, I want to come back and say, sovereign power vests with the people. Yes. Okay? And my pushback is, we shall not be democratic until we take the reins of our democracy. It's upon us, the people, to make sure that we are enjoying the fruit of our democracy as the sovereign. We can't just abrogate our powers and sit back and then be like, but they've taken my power. No.
But Latif, don't you think we as Gen Zs have actually demonstrated that on the one time we choose to
remind... A few of you have. Remember, 75% of this country is this young population. Not all young people are speaking the same language, and that's why I say, you know, a few Gen Zs came out on the streets, and now it's not everybody.
A few?
Yes. We are 53 million people.
And we form 70% of the population. Okay,
70% of 53 million. Who's the math person here? Did we see those many people in the streets?
Hakuna mtu mathematics hapa. So two things that are important. One, the idea that we go to vote and vote for people. So we have a responsibility on the people that eventually end up leading us. That's our responsibility. And we get to this small chicken and egg situation. Which comes first, you know? So we say, but you know, we vote for these people. They are all bad. You know, have options of only bad people on the ballot. So I'll take the least evil, if you like, which is our famous Kenyan thing that we like to. That's one. So we have to discuss our responsibility as citizens. At what point do we actually stop bad leaders from getting into office? That is one, critical and important. Two, democracy has to deliver the goods, and it hasn't across the board, unfortunately, in terms of how we feel. Because if we elect people in office, I need to get employment, I need to work, I need to live in a safe country that actually, you know, I can progress, be whoever I want to be. Now, if that is not possible, then that democracy doesn't work. Then I'd rather live in a chiefdom, okay? If the chief then allows me to, you know, have gold bars every single day, for argument purposes. So there are two things that I want us to discuss. I'm going to come back to you guys for one final round before we wrap this up. What is our responsibility as citizens in making sure that we actually stop bad people from getting into office? Or we just pass them through? And we know these bad people, all right? Two things. Can I get a hand? What is our responsibility? What do you think you can do? Let me get this gentleman here on the right, then I'll come back to you. Give him the microphone. The gentleman on a blue blazer. What is your responsibility in getting the right people to get into office? How does that look like for you?
My name is Evan Sonyango. I'm from Kasarani. My first responsibility and the responsibility of the other citizens in this country is to ensure that we vote in the right leaders in office. If somebody has got a record of corruption, they have never delivered before, we should not vote them in. That is number one. Number two, as citizens, we have got the responsibility of recalling leaders who are failing to perform. Esther Passaris should be recalled, Silvanus Osoro should be recalled, and any other member of parliament or women rep who has not performed in this country should be recalled back to the constituency, and we put back the people who are supposed to be in those positions. Thank you.
Fantastic. Gentlemen, your name and what is your responsibility? What is your space in making sure that democracy actually succeeds?
Yes, good evening. My name is Logo Alokwe, and I come from Trans Nzoia County. One thing that I will surely do is that when I go to vote, I will not vote with emotions. I will not vote with emotions just because someone gave me something. If I'm given, yes, I'll take. Another thing is... will it
influence you? If you're given something, will it influence how you vote?
As a Kenyan, and as the way you see me, sina kakitu, but nikipewa, I'll take it.
And then you'll have to vote that way?
I won't vote that person. Yeah. I won't vote with emotions just because I'm nilipewa kitu. Another thing I will do is that those leaders that are not performing well in the office should not go back there because they are the ones failing us. Another thing that I will do is that I will not vote on the basis of tribal. I will not vote in a person of my tribe just because, well, he's another Logoa or he's another Lokwe. You get? Those are the things that I, as a Gen Z, I don't advocate for voting in people that are basically from your tribe. But you should vote in people who have ideas that will pivot our nation to the next level. Thank you.
The lady sitting next to you, you're agreeing and disagreeing. Do you have a responsibility? You do not have a responsibility. All right, let's just pass the microphone at the back. I want to hear the female voice.
Good evening. My name is Alfonso Chengowiti from Kilifi. I think what should be done as a voter, before you vote a new member of parliament or a senator or a president, We have what is being done in the NGO system. And there are two things that are being done in the NGO system. Number one, we have what is called due diligence. Number two, we have what is called traction record. Like if an NGO wants to fund you now, they will look at your traction record or traction report, what you've done 2 years ago, 1 month ago, 6 months ago. Then they'll be like, yes, this startup or this CBO, they're doing very good stuff.
Right.
They're empowering community, society. Actually, the fruit is positive. Then the financiers will like, okay, what if I empower this person? It means if I empower this person and currently is empowering 10 people, he will now empower other 20 more people. That is the same thing that we need to do when we are going to vote. Look at the due diligence. Like mark this politician. Has he ever been found in any corruption cases? Has he ever been found in any malpractice cases? If yes, then that person is not correct for that position.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The microphone this side. Yes, give your thought and give the gentleman.
Thank you. My name is Reri Wallen from Embu. The shortest verse in the Bible is Jesus wept. And I have opted to use this because Jesus wept when he foresaw the situation we are in Kenya currently. On the issue of my responsibility, we can vote in a person with a good track record, but later on that person gets to that place, he changes. So my own opinion is that we should at least, we as Kenyans, amend the constitution and make the process of recalling, the process of impeaching, make it a bit easier so that we can have it as Kenyans.
That's a very good point.
Faster, so that we can at least remove someone from office other than overstaying there.
Overstaying there.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Timothy Mulo. I am a law student. I think as Gen Zs, we have a role to play when it comes to a good democracy. We cannot talk about democracy without talking about the sovereignty of the people. And in that case, we must vote in good leaders. And before we come to even recalling, we must have good leaders in position. The problem that we have as a nation currently, it is not because the citizen cannot practice their rights. It is because we have bad leadership, and it begins with bad voting. So as Gen Zs, we have a role to play in terms of informing the previous generation how to vote in right, because our democracy is going, it is dwindling because of the aspect of voting wrongly. We need to get the cards straight by voting right come 2027.
Okay. You 30 seconds very quickly.
I think an informed citizen is an empowered citizen.
Right.
So it's our mandate to inform our fellow Kenyans so that when this time comes, they know who they're going to get in there. Because it has come, as my friend has said, that you can get a very good person with good track records in those offices, but at the end of the day, when they get to the power, they change. Definitely, if as Kenyans and the young generation in this nation, we can be given that mandate, even to amend this constitution of Kenya Modi. At least we amend it. Then from there, whenever you are caught of any case, like I'm proposing for any elected leader, after 3 months you come to the public, you declare you are wealthy after 3 months. After 3 months you declare you are wealthy, so that we can hold everybody accountable after 3 months. Thank you.
All right. This lady has finally a responsibility. Please, hand the mic to her. She wants to give us something. Please tell us your name.
Hi, my name is Patricia. My question goes to us as the Gen Z. I mean, smart. If us, we bring an individual who we want to bring in the system, we want to vote in. And then we have a certain individual who has been in the seat. I come from a humble background. I can't even afford 500 shillings to eat. It's time to vote. I don't have that 200. I don't have that 100. And the same individual who was sitting in that seat comes and gives me like 1,000. I'll still go and vote. The problem starts with us. We can't just advocating to vote individuals who can do change, and yet it is us who are the problem. So it should start with us educating each other why you should vote this individual, what this individual is going to do to you for you to get more than 500 just for today. So it starts with us. We don't just say we want change. We want change for what? Start the change here. Start the change with us. We don't just start the change by talking online and saying we want the change. We don't want these people because they can't do this and this. No. You and me, we start here together. I tell you, this is who you need to vote. You voting this guy, it comes, not us having this and telling people, don't vote this because this. No. Here. It starts here.
That's a very interesting perspective. And right before we move, because again, we're in a country where information is very viable, I tend to disagree, partly because systems exist to manipulate citizens into looking at economic chaos that influences how they vote, courtesy of the fact that they do not have access. It's a fact that Kenyans would wish to have a very good governance, but you exist in a state that is constantly depressing. And that you've raised a very important point whereby economically, when somebody offers something else, you might think, okay, I'll take this 100 because I don't have. But to what stance? Because they won't be there after getting into the seat to give you again and again. So the point becomes you are needed to expect better governance. It's supposed to be there. It's your right in the Constitution. So systems have to work specifically to ensure that you don't have to entirely be in that position. And we need to demystify that these democratic positions are personified into an individual and create systems where leaders can actually sit there with or without a very good background.
System, yet it is you who thinks the system has to work. Personally, maybe I don't know the reason why the system has to work. You have to come and talk to me. You have to tell me this system has to work like this. Like you have to come to my level and talk to me. I don't just have to say the system has to work because you're saying the system has to work.
Yeah.
No. The system has to work because you have to come and tell me we have to do this. You know what?
We have to work the system.
You have to level yourself to us who are down here who do not understand. In as much as you're understanding the system has to work, because we have individuals who are doing certain things which are not to be there. Personally, if I'm there, I don't even watch news. I don't even know who is running who. I don't know who is the CS doing what and what. I don't even know when the budget is being read. Personally, in my hood, you bring for me 1,000, I will vote. But if you come and tell me, don't do this, because if you do this, this and this will not happen, people will not vote. We have that gap. And as long as we are not fixing that gap, we will still have the same leaders sitting in the same seat. So that gap has to be fixed by us going down and talking to people. So we can't just talk because you think it has to be there. No, we have to talk.
This is a hot one.
That's interesting.
Very hot issue.
I thought you said that Gen Z went through free education. So
That's exactly the issue. It's that
our
information is there.
There's
We
room
have a
for disagreement.
responsibility to actually take up the task and learn. So actually, when you say you are not, we're supposed to go to a level and educate, it's actually a mandate of the IEBC to continuously educate Kenyans, right? On the act of, wait. And apart from that, you're also obligated as a citizen to know what exactly you stand for and what exactly you should expect, because you cannot ask for something you do not know. So we have the responsibility as an educated and a very, very promising generation to not only ask questions, because again, we had the finance bill, people translated it into different languages and Kenyans understood, and that created civic space for us to ask for these rights. You have an obligation to understand what your right is before it's given unto you.
My sister,
Go ahead.
My name is Peter Obada. We are in the third world country. Kenya is a third world country. Not all of us, like you do, have an access to all information. So that is why my sister here, she wasn't necessarily insinuating about her, but about those other people who are in the rural areas that are not having access to this like information.
I agree.
Secondly, on my point, what I wanted to say is we don't have to lie ourselves, Gen Zs.
Right.
We have to make Kenyan politics cheap.
Kenyan politics cheap.
Yeah.
All right. So
the fact is, let me just finish. Right now, let's say, for example, I'm running for a member of parliament. I'm campaigning with a lot of money, and it is in millions. When I get to the office, what do you expect?
You'll have to recover your money.
Paradox.
Yeah.
I fully agree, but I want us to
there's
wrap
a
it.
complete contradiction as you come and wrap.
Yes.
On one hand, you're saying you want elections to be cheap. On the other hand, you're saying you want to be given handouts. Choose your poison. Anyway, smart.
That is why you are talking about democracy. We have freedoms of speech.
Yes.
You have to
we have to express ourselves.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to give back whatever you feel.
But I want to ask, what's this paradox? How do we break the deadlock? What do we think is the most important office in this country today? What do we think is the most important office? You're still at the microphone. What is the most important office?
The most important office
Yes.
in this nation
Yes.
is the office of the people.
Office of the people.
Of the people.
All right.
We are the people. We are the employers of the government.
Brilliant.
Our office is the most important.
So we've answered the question that for us to break this, the problem we have, a paradox, is the most important office is the office of the citizen, we the people. So it is upon us to make choices and decisions that are going to make sure that we end up in a situation that betters all of us, right? Now, I understand on one hand that we are still economically disempowered. We have gaps of misinformation, disinformation, malinformation. All those things are true and fact. But still, what democracy then offers us, as Churchill told us, the person with less information and the person with more information, they have one vote each. And the value is the same of that one vote. That is where we are. And that is our problem. And that is our opportunity to fix it. All right? So let's wrap this up. Latif.
I've got a couple of comments just that have been shared, and I want to look at that and then also look at what the poll is saying tonight. Kimani Geshoke says, 35 years after Saba Saba, we vote, we speak. Do they listen? Kenya's democracy is alive, but on life support. PM, the only way remaining to be responsible is registering as voters and taking part in elections. We've got a very lazy generation. If they want change, ballot. Jack, one of the problems is expecting Kenyans to elect 6 different positions on the same day and elect wisely. Imagine if we host staggered elections, maybe elect legislators 2 or 3 years after the executive.
Yeah.
You know, but the way it is now, they get in together, they live together, they conspire to cause the most damage together because they're in the same boat together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to look at the opinion. The question is, is Kenya a more democratic state today than it was 35 years ago?
Yeah.
Those on NTV Kenya on Instagram, 83% say no, 17% say yes. On YouTube, 63% no, 37% yes. On X, 80% no, 20% yes. An overwhelming no. No.
Well,
Where do you want to wrap this up?
Well, I want to wrap up by first getting this out of my chest.
Okay,
Yes. Well, I want to share a response that is also an opportunity we can think about, and specifically to young people. And why I keep pushing back on the fact that we have an opportunity to do better. 93% of households in Kenya at least have one mobile phone. 139% mobile device penetration, meaning oversaturation. 64% of individuals personally own a mobile phone. 41% of Kenyans actively use the internet. 24% of households use the internet at home. 23.5% of the population, which equates to 13 million, are on social media platforms. There's an opportunity there to close a gap, to re-educate one another. And that has been relevant in June this year, June last year, where we recognized our privilege index and we assisted the entire country to coagulate into one function, which is to end the finance bill. I think that's an opportunity right there to close the gaps and invite young people to do better come next elections.
All right.
Right, and my take home, my last word on this is that we can see how far we have come as a democracy. But the truth is that there's an ongoing tension between democratic ideals and, practical governance as we are seeing it. And largely, what has come out from our discussion is that what undermines these principles that we have in blueprint really as a country is the people that then we have bestowed the power to execute this power of governance on our behalf. The politicization of governance, high politicization of governance, from the executive, the interference that we have seen with legislation, with the judiciary, with the freedoms that the people have guaranteed in the Constitution. So then it comes down to the supreme power of the people to decide to whom we are going to bestow, the fundamental job of governance.
Latif, you have a last word.
Mine is, we are more democratic today than we were 35 years ago, on paper. We have a more enlightened citizenry, and it's just about the citizenry that's exercising their democracy. That's it.
All right, so we've spoken a lot, but what really is the absolute final word on this question? Do we think, or do we feel that today Kenya's democracy has regressed? Now, public dissatisfaction with democracy continues to outweigh satisfaction across many countries. Now, Pew Research Center, which has been surveying since 2017 as a stat, Canada, France, Germany, Greece, Italy, Japan, the Netherlands, South Korea, Spain, Sweden, the United Kingdom, and the United States, a median of 64% of adults say they are dissatisfied with the way that democracy is working. Now, just like us, since 2024, satisfaction with democracy has decreased in 5 countries: Israel, Japan, Kenya, Poland, and South Korea. Now, 58% of Kenyans think our democracy has regressed, while 40% still believe our democracy is intact. You've had sense of this on social media. There's this, most Kenyans currently feel democracy is not working. Now, it is worth noting that this shows a decrease. In other words, a few years ago, Kenyans thought our democracy was in a good place. Many factors does influence how satisfied people feel about the way our democracy is working. But key, economic perceptions are the most important considerations. Countries where a large share of the public says the economy is in good shape also tend to have a large share of who are satisfied with their democracy. As an example, during President Mwai Kibaki's era of economic growth, Kenyans believed our democracy was thriving. So what does all this mean? Does this mean people are turning away from democratic ideals that we've spoken about? Pew Research suggests otherwise. It shows that people around the globe think representative democracy is a good system of governance. At the same time, many people are frustrated with political elites or feel their views are not truly represented in the government. Our political elites are living in glass houses across the world. We are not crazy. That is the last word. Thank you very much from where you're coming from. On ground, please clap for yourself. You've done very well. And all those who've joined us online, participating in polls, and all your comments, thank you very much for your company tonight. And on air, I've not been alone. Eric Latif, Zai Ndimuli, Sharon Ndimuli. My name is James Smart. Please do have a lovely night. We'll see you again next week here at the same station. Sharon Momani. That's the last word. My name is James Smart. Please, it's been a long night. Have a lovely night, everyone.
This is NTV.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I would like to make you unstoppable. And how would you do that?
And at the Nation Media Group, we are plugging you to the biggest event in the 254. This year marks 10 years of the World Youth Skills Day. We are here to bring you skills that are here to help you navigate through your career. Tip number 1. This is where